It's our long-term Bronco, the one we bought and did an unboxing video on. Bit of the screen off here. Very satisfying. We bought this one for our long-term fleet. In our long-term fleet, we drive vehicles for over a year, put 20,000 miles on them. It's an excellent way to test a vehicle. And one of the things we wanted to test with this Bronco is how hard it is to take the doors off and take the top off. So today I'm gonna do that with all the tools that came with it. Hopefully I don't have to crack into my extra supply of home personal tools. And I wanna see how difficult it is compared to a Jeep Wrangler, which I took the doors and the top off of yesterday, and I timed myself. I wanna see if there are similar times and difficulty levels to taking the doors and the top off of a Bronco as there are to a Wrangler. For more information on our long-term Bronco or any of the other vehicles in our long-term fleet, click the link in the description below and press like and subscribe. Click that little bell because you're gonna get more videos all throughout the year of our ownership of the Bronco. All right, so let's walk through what we got here real quick. Tools, a blanket to set the top down on, a scale to weigh the doors, and then these bags that came with the Bronco. So I'm gonna start with just the tools that Ford gave me, and I'm gonna go with their order first. Let's start with the driver's side door. Now there's something different about this door than you would expect from a Wrangler, which is the hinges are on the outside on a Wrangler, on a Bronco on the inside. First step that Ford says is to fold back this front mirror because it's not connected to the door. It's not coming with it when you take the door off. Second step is to get out the little guards that they provide. So you get two of them and they go in what would be kind of the high contact areas. Oh, there we go, there's one there, and then one here, so that when you lift the door off, it doesn't scratch the front fender of the truck, which is nice because this thing's brand new. So that's great. We'll use those for each door. And then the second thing you do, take out the wire harness. So, simple little wiring harness there. That was probably the easiest thing I'll do all day. And there's a hinge door there so you don't get water in the female part of that wiring harness. And this comes off with the door. Before I put the bag on the door, I'm gonna take out the bolts, the pin bolts, then I'll slide the bag on and we'll go from there. So the first attachment we're gonna use is the 13 millimeter. And it should be able to come off by hand. Now, one of the things about this that's different than the Wrangler, the hinges on the outside, they're easier to get to. This is pretty difficult to access. Even with the door widest open position, there's not much area to swing the ratchet around. You're just dealing with like a ½ inch of travel here. So that's the first part that's annoying. And then also I have kind of large hands here, so sliding my hands in is difficult. There's the first bolt. Make sure not to lose that. And then the second one is upside down here. At least they don't have a long travel, that's helpful. And the second bolt's out. Simple enough, save those and go get the bag for the door. Now these are all labeled, which is nice. This is the front driver's side door. You can see it in the little diagram there. And I slip it over the door. So obviously if I drop the door, it'll be in the bag. It's got a nice lining, soft so it won't scratch the paint. And it provides handles so you can lift the door off using the bag. It's a little bit tight, but you don't want it to be too loose, I guess. There's also a lift point underneath, which I'm gonna use. I like that a little bit better than the handle, and off it goes. It doesn't wanna go all the way in. The bag is new and not very stretchy. And now, got a door and a bag. Let's go take the other ones off. Next one is passenger side front. Obviously you wanna do this with the windows down. That was a step I should have said right up front. But these are frameless doors. You don't have a frame for the window, so you want to put the window down, and obviously they wouldn't fit in the bag with the windows up. So that's your first step. So Clippies, took them off the rubber things, took them off the other door, protected from scratches. I'm sure you could do this with something like painter's tape as well, but it's nice that Ford includes these. First things first, pop off the wiring harness. That's super easy. Just clip out. A lot easier than the one on the Wrangler. Now we go back to the 13 mil and first bolt out, easily done. Thankfully the bolt travel is not very long, and once you get it loose with the ratchet, you can just get it out by hand. That one's out. And this door is ready to come out. Just got to put the bag on it. Now this time, because I learned from my error on the other side, I'm going to try and get as much of the bag over the door as possible before I take it off, because handling it while it's off the vehicle is not as easy. And we'll weigh these so we can see how much lighter or heavier they are than the Wrangler's doors. Again, it's a new bag. It's been folded up. We just took it out of the bag, so a little time in the sun might help stretch it out. I guess I'd recommend that to anybody doing this for the first time. Kind of bunch up while the door's on there, and that'll make it much easier once the door's off the vehicle. So, 2 handles. I got one down over here, one up here. Door comes right off. Sit that down there. So now it's time for the rear doors, and there's nothing for them to hit, so I don't need to put the rubber up front to protect them. Similar strategy back here. Super easy to pop off, and it's hinged, so this door just closes automatically. 2 bolts holding the door on. Same thing, large hands, hard to fit in these tight spaces, but luckily it's a pretty short bolt on the top. Long enough, but it only took a couple of turns to get that out of there. After like 2 turns, you can get it out by hand pretty much, which is simple. Bolts out. Then we will get the bag. So the order of these has to do with what they want you to take off first so as not to scratch the vehicle, and how they want them stored in the back. I haven't stored them in the back yet because I'm taking the top off and they're gonna get in the way, and also I wanna weigh the doors. Slide it on. This one's a little bit more difficult with the raised window there. I should be able to get it. This handle here, this one here, or this one here and this one here. You're supposed to do this with a friend, but it comes off real easy. This one's super light, can't wait to weigh this. And the great thing about these bags is you can put them in the back of the Bronco while you're off-roading, and your doors will stay clean. So you can get home with a muddy car and clean doors. I don't know, maybe that's not great. Maybe it's kind of weird. Lay this down next to its friends, and go for the passenger side. So now we're gonna take the bag for the back passenger door, slide that on. This is getting easier door by door, not unsurprisingly, as I figure out what I'm doing. But the bolts are out, up and out. Real simple. Compared to the Wrangler, it didn't take me that much longer. There was the extra step of putting the bags over the doors, which I kind of fumbled with.
This one's a little bit more difficult with it doesn't want to go all the way in.
It's not as easy.
But for either vehicle, it's gonna be about 20 minutes per side, or about 40 minutes for all 4 doors, which is pretty good. You know, the hinges are exposed and whatnot, but that's cool. It's all part of the experience. And honestly, how many vehicles can you buy new today that you can take the doors off of? It's kind of rad. I weighed myself. I just have to subtract the difference here. And I also weighed the bag, so I know it weighs 5 pounds. This is almost a 45-pound door, which is 10 pounds more than the Wrangler's rear door. It's pretty significant. Let's weigh the front one. See how much a front door weighs. That's 55 pounds, so 5 pounds more than a Wrangler's front door. So even without the window framing, the Bronco's doors weigh more. So while it's not a big difference, it's worth noting that the Bronco's doors are heavier. It's some extra weight to carry around if you're lifting the doors on and off by yourself. Next thing is the top. This has got to be one of the easiest things to do. So the first step is you unbolt that, turn this L bracket, this other one, and all of a sudden, you're running with the top off. There's also a bag for this, but this is really light. It's maybe 5-10 pounds tops. So the next step is to take off this middle section. Now, you can't do this on the Wrangler, but you can on the Bronco. And it's similar to the front. There are just a couple of snaps here. Click, click, click. And this whole thing comes off as one piece, but I'm gonna need a guy on the other side of the vehicle to help me move it. So the next step, now that I'm a completely open air vehicle, at least in the front, is to take off the rear. And for that, we're gonna need the handy dandy toolkit again. We're gonna take the ratchet out and use the T50, I believe it is. We're gonna take off these 2 bolts. Then there's 4 on each side in the back, and then we'll lift it off and have everything off this vehicle. It'll be super lightweight. Well, those bolts took a while. Comes out by hand now, save that. Move on to this side. That one's out. Now to the back. Got to open the tailgate all the way and open the glass. And you want to leave the glass open when you take the top off because you don't want this bottom part hitting the ground. And they're basically a series of bolts along here and along the other side, 4 of them that you take out, and then this whole thing will lift right off. So, beginner's mistake, I almost forgot, but luckily saw it right here in front of me, to take out the wiring harness and the hose for the rear wiper and washer. Those come out and then they go into a secondary slot over here for storage. So I'm gonna take those out now. Just a simple pull down clip, real easy. Store that right here. And this one, real simple. Little drip of water, store that right there, and then you can safely take off the top. Excuse me while I climb in the back here. This is another kind of tight space, I guess. Yeah, if I go around that side, much better. The roof bar here, kind of need it for safety and vehicle structural integrity, but it does get in the way. There's one bolt. That's all 4 on this side. We'll move to the other side now. The final step to taking off all of the top pieces is the back. I want to get my tools out of the way here. Haven't had to use any of these, just a scale for weighing the doors. And you want to set down something soft, so I got a nice moving blanket so we don't scratch the top as we take it off. All the bolts are out, you just lift up and move it. You want to leave the glass off, kind of move the tailgate out of the way, and then you want to do it with a friend. You lift from both sides, 1, 2, 3. Set it down nice and easy, and you're done. Looks pretty cool. We got the doors and the top off, and with the exception of the second and third row of the top, I could pretty much do all that by myself. Now, most people might want to have a friend with them for the first time they do it. That was pretty simple, and you could get it done in probably under an hour. But now, we're gonna do the fun part and take it out for a drive with no doors. This feels so weird. What's it like to drive the Bronco with the doors off? Well, it's certainly windier in here. Luckily, we're in Southern California and it's not too cold out. But if you live somewhere where the weather's good and you can leave the doors off for summer, it could be kind of fun. Now, I wouldn't want to drive like this in traffic. It feels a little naked, like I'm riding a motorcycle without a helmet. A little bit less safe is what it feels like, but it's still a pretty cool feeling. And the fact that I can take the doors on and off in such a short amount of time, it's pretty cool too. Also, there's no center crossbeam up here. This is like having a full-on convertible experience. Boy, oh boy, do you hear those 35-inch tires howling on the ground. Either way, it's a really fun experience to drive without the doors on. Before we wrap everything up, I wanted to show you a couple cool things that I found when I was taking off the top. The first is this giant Bronco logo that no one's ever gonna see if they leave the top on their Bronco all the time. And the second is a set of coordinates near the top of the B pillar, which leads to the King of the Hammers race. It's a cool little touch, right? So, what was it like taking the doors off, and how difficult was it compared to, say, a Wrangler? Honestly, it's about the same. The procedures are a little bit different, but not by much. You just take some bolts out and voila, you can lift the doors off. They are a little bit heavier on the Bronco, but not so much that it makes a huge difference. Taking the top and the doors and the center top and the front top off made me think, where am I gonna store all this stuff? I don't live in a house with a garage, so I'd have to just leave it in my apartment? That wouldn't make a lot of sense. It's nice that Ford includes the bags for the doors, less likely to get them scratched, but I'm not gonna store them in the back if I'm doing an off-road trip. I'm gonna need space for my cooler and my tent and whatever else I'm gonna use while I'm doing an off-road trip. I have a difficult time thinking of a scenario where I'd store the doors in the back, go for a drive, and then put them back on before I go home. Either way, it's a fun experience. It's nice to know that it's this easy, and maybe we'll see how many adventures we can go on without the doors. What else should we do next in our long-term Bronco? Let us know in the comments below. And for a cash offer on your car today, go to edmunds.com/sellmycar. Really, we want to buy your car. Now it's time to put it all back together. So cue the funny montage music.